Hey y'all, it's Melanie coming at you with some Omega Energy. I am on a free day, and sometimes when I have a free day, I don't always know what to do with myself, so I just work. I figure out something to do. Because I'm in this heat right now, it's summertime. Outside during the daytime, it's not it's not cute. I'm not a person that enjoys sweating, not like that. There's only one way I enjoy sweating, and that's the grown up way. Otherwise, no. You will not catch me in no gym or nothing like that. So I'm waiting till nighttime so I can go have some fun. That's the wonderful thing about being at this stage. It's like I can literally do what I want when I want to, but also I have to want to do it. But it's great that I get to choose, you know? Anyway, I want to start talking to y'all about some other topics and things at some point, but sometimes I don't even know how to frame things when I'm talking. Sometimes it's a little weird. And just having the awareness that what I'm doing right now is important to me, at least right now, and to some others. It's good enough for me. But there's this inner knowing and understanding that the vibration that I choose at any given moment can set a wave. Every single one of us have that within us, just FYI. But I done told y'all before, there are those of us, for some reason, and I still have not been able to fully ascertain the reason why, we're born with this inner knowing of something. That doesn't mean we had it all together, because can't speak for nobody. I just speak for me. I didn't always have it all together and figured out. And I've made that clear to you and shared that with y'all in many ways. But however, I do believe that just because you were born with those innate abilities, it don't mean that you're on any particular side of right or good or light, because there'll be balance. I will always caution y'all. I will always caution you. Not because I'm making a decision for you. You can make a decision for yourself. I will caution you to be discerning and understand that just because there are others who have abilities similar or maybe like me out there in the world walking around and you can perceive them, that doesn't mean they mean you any good. I have to learn at the hallway so y'all don't have to. Okay? Just so we are aware. Might say, well, they were gifted these things and that thing, and they got a fancy house and a fancy car. Well, maybe okay. But that doesn't mean nothing. There's a lot of people out here, wealthy, billionaires, millionaires, or, got a good chunk of change in the bank and don't mean nobody no good but themselves. Am I judging them right now? Absolutely not. That's the thing. I'm not judging them. What I will tell you is, for you to, I will always encourage you to, think with this for yourself. Be discerning for yourself. Learn what you can from anyone, no matter who they are. And then go ahead and process that for yourself and see how you can integrate that into your reality. Okay? We've seen time and time again how perception can definitely lie to us. All the time. All around us. I'm not one of them folks that'll tell you that I won't learn from people who I disagree with. Sometimes those are the best teachers. I'm gonna be honest with you. And even if there are times where I feel challenged or feel motivated to go into battle, whether that be physically, mentally, spiritually, legally. And it is at those times I learn the most from those who are perceived to be on a differing side than me. I will definitely integrate whatever knowledge they have into my being in any way I know how to do that. Because it's not enough to just know thyself. You must also know your opponents and know them well. Know what they're capable of and know what's in their arsenal. And if what's in their arsenal, say for instance you had a tete-a-tete with somebody in a mental way, in an intellectual way, in an analytical way. Well, if you don't know what they know, if you don't understand how they perceive whatever facts on the table to be debated, then you actually one bullet shy in your gun, mental thought. Sitting down with people that you differ with sometimes can educate you about things that you are similar to about. That's been my biggest teachers. Okay, having that open mind. I done told y'all with my folks. Told you always have an open mind, no matter who you're dealing with, who you're speaking with. Okay. Told y'all I didn't understand, and I've gotten more understanding of why, but I didn't always understand why it was. There we go again on my nose. I didn't understand. Oof. Yeah, excuse me. You know what? This is gonna be hopefully not perceived as rude, but this time I'm just gonna blow my nose and see if that helps, because it's like a whole bunch of pressure is coming from here. So I'm gonna see if I can do something about that and be right back. I've never left camera before while filming, but I didn't want to start all over. I don't know, this is not one of them days I feel like starting on. It's a free day, so I'm just going to act like it's a day I'm playing hooky while also saying some things. Okay, thank you for staying with me if you did. Okay, now, I didn't always, and there it goes again, I didn't always know when I was a little key why I was so interested in learning every single aspect of every religion that I can figure out being a part of for a little bit, just learning, open-minded learning. And I think I've gotten a bit more clarity about that as of late. Okay? That clarity came when I realized that when I was going through the different levels of understanding Ifa, hoodoo, understanding these things and its tenets and the ins and the outs, and just on some, just as an aside, not necessarily a digression, but as an aside, what I also learned about that is the people who are enmeshed in that now, you have the same thing you have in every religion and every belief structure out there. People who have good intentions or intentions in the light, and people who have intentions in the dark. And sometimes you can't tell the difference between the two. Same thing's true for every religion and every belief structure around the world. I tell you what, and it's, even though there's a lot of minds who believe that the average human being cannot perceive and understand things in this way. In other words, if you explain to them the different levels of energy that are out there, beings that are out there, their mind, if they actually start to conceive of it and believe it, their minds will just do something egregious, right? And if that's the case, then again, this part will not be heard. If it's not meant to be heard by human ears, it will not be heard, okay? But there are several levels out there, and this is something that's being well talked about by many of folk. I just haven't really dove into it because I didn't see the point since so many people were talking about it. But in my own way, I'd like to explain it to my folks. Understand? And when I say my folks, I mean my current folks and any future folks who'd like to learn from the tongue of someone who will not, who will try their best not to tell you anything that I do not understand or that I feel is not truth. Okay? Okay. Now, from what I understand thus far, we've talked about y'all being little creators out there and generators out there of the reality that we currently live in. Okay? One of the reasons for the Christian Crusades was to change this perception. Okay? That there are more than one deity. There are any levels of anything other than one. Okay? Because as long as human beings perceive it to be real, then it is. Okay? And you might think a thought is not anything, but we've classified it as a noun for a reason. It is your thoughts that are not at this time, that are, excuse the noise outside. I don't know who's doing that. I live in a neighborhood. I don't live in a business district, and my office is within my home. Yeah, I try to do it on the second floor so that I don't hear as much downstairs noise, but y'all won't have to excuse me. Um, if you do hear that, I hear it, so you probably hear it. Anyway, but the hearts and minds, the connection to the self is linked to the brain. Okay? And hopefully I don't get too lost in the sauce with none of this. Sometimes I can do the digressions and they're cute, but sometimes the digressions can take me off of a point and I miss it and I forget to go back to it, you know? Anyway, and the Christian Crusades was mostly about, like I said, some of it was well intentioned. I know it's hard to see that from the framework of history and all the murders and the killing and whatnot. But the point was to have one absolute framework of a deity and to get the hearts and minds of people on board so they could have some kind of structure and of morality. But here's the thing. I'm not totally and utterly against this concept in general speak, and I know that's a lot to say for someone who claims to have an open mind. Well, I do have an open mind, but I also am a realist, and I realize there are people who need that in order to act like they have some sense. I know everybody don't believe that. I know everybody don't. But the moment people start losing hope in something outside of themselves, some people, not everybody, but some, they start just doing anything that's permissible. But then there's the other end of the spectrum is the moment they believe and perceive from a voice that's telling them you have to do this awful thing is a sacrifice or a tenet to your belief and the deity that's above you or outside of you. They can also do awful things and perceive servitude to this deity. And again, a definite tenet to the Christian Crusades. But however, because everything has a dark side of light typically. Some things are just all light and some things are just all dark. It depends. But most things have both within it if you can be so inclined to look. But the intention was to keep humanity from thinking that there are any other deities other than one. And the more people brought on board, and that's I guess I digress again. That is the intent of a lot of folks that's, be getting social media famous, right? And when you get social media famous for doing nothing other than just being social media famous, there's nothing wrong with that. But the intent is to be like these. And that's the intent, right? And a lot of those ways, like I will regain and recapture, or I will capture the minds and hearts of as many people as possible so that I can gain power. And there's no, I'm not discounting the truth in that, no accounting for taste, but at the same time, this is no different than the concepts of the Crusades if you be so kind to just really imagine it. If I get as many hearts and minds to revere, respect, and fear me all at the same time, then that's the power. That's where the power will come from. And didn't it work though? It did work. But I'm just one person, but I hope it don't have to work that way. Like moving forward into this age, that people are more free and liberated from the concepts that they have to in order to be one with each other, they must also have something outside of themselves to create that oneness. And anybody who's not a part of that outside energy, a deity or something like that, is not a part of them. That's not, for me, that's not conducive to all of us figuring out how to have some kind of peaceful society. Now, there's always going to be little factions of things and people having conflicts. That's always going to be a thing because human beings be human. But to the extent that we currently have it, it would not go down if more of us realize that we look for outside of ourselves is inside of ourselves, and that any deity that exists is created by us and therefore need us to think of it in order to survive and be. And we understood that. It's like, if a deity truly be omnipotent, non-biased, I would think, considering all scientific logical arguments about all things and creation, as well as what the concept of a true deity is, I would perceive it would not need to be known. And I've come to that conclusion. It would not need to be known in that way in order to be what it is. That's what I've come to discover. You can come to discover something else. And that's the great thing about thinking for yourself and discovering things for yourself. I think the biggest reason why, and I'll get back to, see, I digressed so much that I didn't get to the point of the initial thing I was saying. I'm working on that, y'all. Anyway, I've come to the understanding I went through all those different layers of learning and understanding, so that at first, listen to understand, not to be correct, to understand that some people may not be friendly as it pertains to balancing things out that just won't control. And the third thing was so that I can learn all about human behavior, belief structures, and let them be my teachers for the things that I do want and the things I do not want as being a part of my being. And then I move that forward. That was the purpose. It's a beautiful purpose. In my opinion, it's a beautiful purpose. To understand, to know, and to know myself. That was the purpose, I think. I think I'm right about that. Anyway, but in that clarity, I found even additional information about the now, what is going on now, and the perception of time. And when I understand what is going on now is no different than what was going on before. It aided me in understanding and seeing a bit more. Even though I saw a lot, every time you think you see everything, then you hit the ceiling of everything, and then you realize there's vastly more for you to see. I'm telling you, this has been my experience, and it'll be yours if you keep going down the path of understanding. Any of you who will be so inclined to do so. But I think the very best thing about what's coming forward is more people will have more clarity and more choices in their thought processes because their minds are being freed. Not everybody who got freedom gonna do something great with it, y'all. I'm just some people, there's literally still people. I was talking in the comments on there, there's still people. When we just had this past holiday of the 4th of July, went outside with a gun and shot it in the air, understanding that everybody has a basic understanding of gravity and what bullets do when they're done with their upward trajectory. Yet they still did it. With freedom comes everything. Okay? But some people are ignorant to those facts, right? And those who are ignorant to those facts doesn't make what they're doing right, but at least they have some kind of, energetic pass. But once you know what you're doing and you're aware of what you're doing, you do it anyway, that's still freedom, but that's what you're choosing to do with it. I think that's what was tripping me up until this point as it pertains to my acceleration, my ascension, and my growth up here and in here, was seeing those who I perceived to be similar to me and what they were doing with it. It was really upsetting to me. It has been really upsetting to me. Because I'm like, you were given a gift, and sometimes it feels like a curse. But also everybody don't have it like that, at least not yet. I think we're supposed to be teaching them, not taking from them. And some people out here, it seems like they're teaching. But what they're actually doing is stealing energy. As you watch them, they take from you, and they said it's such a way that they do that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. And it's not me saying I'm better. This is me saying that makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable in a lot of ways. And so I'm like, yeah, I remember more than I know. And I've learned things since that shows me exactly what this is. And it makes me feel like there are times where it has made me feel like there is no hope of overcoming these types of paradigms if everybody keep doing them. But it's like, well, instead of getting mad at it, and this can be applied to anything, kids, instead of getting mad at it and staying mad at it, figure out why they're doing that. Wounds in the ego, lack, never having, finally getting something. And then with power comes corruption for a reason in this dimension. The corruption comes from something you haven't had. You are susceptible to corruption in this dimension if you haven't had something. And you really wanted that thing, and you finally get it in excess. That's why I understand at this time where corruption comes from. Hell, the only time I've ever been corrupted in my life, and I'm telling you, I've been corrupted in my life once. And I've felt for a good bit that I was thoroughly paying for it, but now it's just going through whatever emotions I need to go through to learn some more things and to receive some more things. But I ain't had to do that twice in order for me to understand that I don't ever want to do it again. I make no bones about it. I can be rather bitchy from time to time and stubborn, but there are things I will never be. That is a liar. That is a cheater. That is a thief. I'm just saying though, these are all things that I just never could do or get myself to do. And I never understood that either. It's like, even, look, little white lies are helpful and beneficial in making the world go round, especially in those who don't have, what is it, Dick Gregory? The magical glasses on. But I've never been able to do that much either. Now I'm gonna tell you, that is not always pleasing to people. Because they're like, why do you like this? I don't know. I have more understanding now about why I'm like this. But it took a lot of practice and trial and error. But I think it's a weird thing that, and I could be wrong about this, y'all. I think I had to understand what that was in order to be able to combat it in some way. Because all things that corrupt our spirit, things that go against what we have is our light energy, right? There will be balance, okay? Because there's some folks out there right now, y'all don't even know. Just walking around in the same, looking just like you, in the same type of meat suit that you in. And their whole point of being is to cause disruption. Their whole point of being is to limit growth and limit your ability to be, so that you can have something to struggle against and become more robust. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm just saying that's their whole reason for being. Whether you perceive or understand that or not. But I'll get back to my original point. And that is, there are other layers to our belief structures and the reason why they are there. Once something is created, it cannot be destroyed energetically. So imagine that these energies have been dormant for quite some time mostly because of the Crusades. And then every time the age is about to change over, I told y'all before, and if I haven't, I'll tell you here. A lot of this stuff ain't the first time it's happened. And we have stories about them, but we call them myths because it's easier for the mind to perceive. There is a convergence upon the lands of all this place, of all the things that have ever been thought about, or perceived, or conceived of, and therefore created. And if you understand that you are not this body, you're just energy within it, you'll also understand that anything that was energy that was created decided to converge. Now, you ain't got to believe this. I'm just telling you a story. Decided to converge for the coming age because they could. Everything is permissible at that time as it pertains to such. And if they chose to converge, they had to take some kind of meat suit. And I've run into a good many of them. And what I will tell you is that you wouldn't even know them from your cousin or your uncle or your brother or your sister. Now, you can say I'm spitting facts, or you can say I'm just telling you to think about some things, or giving you something to think about. This could just be a little story. You ain't got to believe it. Here's why I'm telling you this. I ain't trying to out nobody. They know they're here. And some of them I'm telling y'all, and the thing about it is, it's funny because some people believe what they say, and some people don't believe what they're saying. But both people can be manipulated energetically to give them the energy that they seek. I've run into that a good many times. It's like, But that's temporary, y'all. I'm just telling you that right now. Quite temporary. Now, I will tell you, though, there's nothing guaranteed to anyone. Whether you are aware of these things or not aware of these things, there's nothing guaranteed to anyone. You must battle. You must fight to retain your independence and your psyche. Okay? Because even when there are winners, there's always something lost. And that's one of the things I learned from Christianity. Even though all the dogmatic religions have a little bit of that, Christianity, and specifically, there was something won, but it was also something lost. Okay? The concept of an independent mind and that structure, because I can tell you one thing I've figured out, and I've perceived as facts. You ain't got to do your own research. Go within, whatever you need to do. But what I've understood is religion was never meant as a weapon. Belief structures were never perceived to be a weapon or something to subjugate the masses. It just evolved into that because enough of folks got in charge of that particular wheelhouse that said, ooh, now that we have the hearts and minds, what can we do with this? How can we manipulate? How can we do this, this, and this? And not all things were great things for human populace, and it shows. Okay? I might even call this video my subjective thoughts. Because I really don't want you to just hear what I'm saying and decide, that's it, that's all. No. It's high time for us to start creating something beautiful of our own that hasn't been hand-fed to us. Okay? And we still can hold with truth within ourselves the idea and concept of God. And we can change that concept whenever we want to. That is the beauty of it. We can change that concept of God's source energy, creation energy. Okay? From one that is unmerciful to one that is quite merciful. Look, some people say, well, I've been taught about God and God is merciful. Is God merciful in the text? I'm talking about that King, like the King James Version. You read about God and you would think, this is a tyrant. This is a very human tyrant. What about all the great things? You mean to tell me you sat in the same Bible classes that I did, and you heard that babies were killed on command, people were drowned on command because of the way they thought, and that same deity couldn't help them perceive the world in its actual state? That same deity couldn't spare the innocent? It's like, well, he took all the children away. Well, they're in happiness and bliss within the human concept of heaven. But their parents were left to mourn their loss. They put more sadness and agony into the world. So you mean to tell me that's not a tyrant? I don't think the creator that I understand, I don't think that was the intention, to teach people that aspect. But if you teach people fear, while also teaching them love, it can be used as a manipulatory tool. And you will constantly have control over their minds if they're afraid, while also feeling like they are loved. Now, caveat, there's a difference between fear and respect. Okay? Now, the only time I want somebody to fear me personally is if they've decided that I'm their enemy and they need to hurt me or harm someone that is innocent, that is in my care. You should be afraid, very afraid. That's the way I feel about it. That's the whole, see, I got a tattoo on me right here. It says what it says. I don't know if y'all can see it. But I was actually, my folks told me to tattoo that. It's like I download about it. It's not usually my vibe. But then again, my friends tell me it is. Anyway, it's got the hamster and all the things. And it says, respect me or fear me. But the fear aspect should be born out of a respect. Respect for my energy and the energy of those who are innocent. Okay? But at the same time, I don't perceive that me wanting respect should make the innocent fear because I just want it that way. And so since I don't think that, I'm like, if I am evolved enough to realize how unfair that is, I would assume something that is greater than myself would understand that too. But that's not how it was taught to humanity after a while. And so, with that idea and concept in mind, I respect and even love some of them, belief structures and deities. Between us girls, I really enjoy the Hindu belief structures a bit more. It's kind of like a favorite because it's not as harsh. Now, they have some problematic energies in that. And when I say problematic energies, if you understand the concepts of deities, you'll realize everybody feels some type of way when they're disrespected. And they will do what they do, even what humans do when they're disrespected. If you had the power of lightning bolts, you will send lightning bolts to somebody who pissed you off. So, in my concepts and thoughts, in my education about all of the different belief structures around the world, I understood. That's when I started to understand some things. And I'm freely sharing them with you because I don't think any one person should hold that kind of power of knowledge all the time. And maybe that's the thing that's supposed to happen, but I don't feel like that's fair. I think everybody should have the opportunity to see and perceive and understand. And there are layers to this. And what if, that's another good name would be, what if another above the rest. Not necessarily in like a hierarchy of structure, hierarchy of structures, top to bottom. But what if we're just the lowest form of that for right now because of, and we have the opportunity to progress past some of this stuff to get to the energy that is the real deal. And we all become a part of it by understanding that we're all equal. But we'll never get there if we're in constant competition for the most respect, the most energy, the most worship. Just saying, that's what I learned. You ain't got to learn that, but that's what I learned. You get closer to what is the perception of the concept of one being when you realize you are already one being and moving in tandem, and everything you do impacts each other. And once you begin to perceive and understand that, you start wanting different things. Like at a certain point, I was manifesting followings and money and all these things. And I'm like looking at my younger self like, hun, with all that power, why was you doing that? And even at the time, it's like there's some part of me that's like, this is really about ego, and this is really about esteem, this is really about, so how do I change that? Once I figured out what that thing was and why I was doing that, I figured out how to change that. I said, well, I'm going to start by doing 1, 2, 3 things for other people. The thing that I know I can manifest for myself, I'm going to give it to somebody else. I don't need it. If I don't need it, I'm going to give it to somebody else and watch them. And enjoy their joy. And piece by piece, I started to see how that created ripples and waves and a vibration that, if I had it for myself, could not be fully appreciated. And I hope that that made sense. It made sense to me, y'all. Sometimes it only makes sense to me. And then there are times where I have to sit back and recalibrate, because there are times where I've done that, and I'm saying people turn around and slap me in my face. Not literally, because I still got these, because no. But, and then I'm like, I call all my energy back. Give me my shit back. It's like, you didn't even appreciate what I was doing. Even though I didn't tell you I was doing it, you didn't appreciate it. Give it back to me. And one person, I literally told her, I'm taking all that shit back. The arrogance. I can laugh at myself now, y'all. And so I had to go back in contemplation. Every single stage of education and learning up to this point, I had to go back in contemplation. Okay, what was the reason why you gave it? What was the reason why you prayed? What was the reason why you manifested with and for that person? What was the reason? Was the reason for them to give you something back? Or was the reason because you wanted to see them happy? Wanted to see them happy. Okay then. Why you mad? Because they have a lack of respect for my happy. Okay, so how do you get that without hurting them? I don't want to do that. Telling y'all what my process was at the time. I don't want to do that. I want to beat their ass right now, because they're fully aware of what I have done for them. Some of them, not all of them. Because some people have no idea, don't even know who I am, which I think is cute. Anyway, I had to really go inward and process those feelings. And again, here's the point. If there is something omnipotent up there, or in a different dimension, because I'm keeping my mind open to those who don't believe that, I don't think it would care if you believed in it or not. I think it would care what you did in your form right now. I think it would care if you're a piece of shit or not, and whether or not you need to have some lessons and balance or not. I think it cared more about that than your belief in it. So that's what I've found so far, and I've been studying a long time. And I done told y'all this ain't my first rodeo. So, it will require nothing of you other than you achieving some inner balance where whatever you take, you give back. And that's when I found it. I found why it upset me and annoyed me so. One, the injury, the emotional injury, right? And the emotional injuries that I've had in my life. I had to begin to heal that in a way that is more sound and permanent. But secondly, I felt like I failed in teaching them that what you give out, you must balance out by giving back to the community or to someone else or to the source you got it from. And that's when I figured out why tithes are important. Hear me out. Hear me out. Not in the sense that it's being taught. I disagree with the way it's being taught in pretty much every belief structure. That is really annoying me outside, but I'm going to keep on going. I'm already at 40 minutes, so it's not a big old deal to me. I understand why the pastors be talking so long at church, because they be just going, right? Anyway, and here's why I think the way it's done sometimes is problematic. When it's taught from a space of a punitive thing, if you don't do this, then you won't receive a blessing. And what they're doing is just taking and taking and taking. And sometimes for people who can't afford it. Miss me with it. Okay? Each one of us have the spark within us, but each one of us can't have discernment in how to use that spark. Okay? So I understand reciprocity. No different than if you go to the corner store and you'd like a loaf of bread, you're going to give the shopkeep some money for that loaf of bread. So when I say that part, this is the part where I feel like different belief structures around the world need to be more honest about what they're doing. You're not paying God, you're paying the pastor. You're not paying God, you're paying the building. You're paying to keep the lights on. And stop telling these folks, this is what I feel. You ain't got to feel it. Stop telling these folks they're paying God. Because the God that you're teaching them about is separate from them. They're not paying anything other than you. And I think that should be clear. At least more clear than it is right now. You're paying for this education and this service and this encouragement. Why can't it be that simple? It needs to be, and it shall be. It's one of those things that I'm manifesting, that there be more honesty in that process. Y'all press. If y'all agree, only if you agree, but if you don't, that's fine. If you agree, go on with me with it. Because, again, we may be all piece of the whole, but we're not the whole in and of ourselves. To pretend that money's going anywhere other than your pockets, it's a fallacy. Again, we need to have some things that are sacred. And when I say sacred, what I mean by that is we tell the truth and nothing but the truth in the whole bit. No matter what that truth looks like. We are here for service. And we're honest about all of that and all of its processes. And having something for the people to actually believe in. Not something that they're going because of obligation. They're going because of tradition. They're going because of fear. When it comes to temples, churches, and chapels, maybe they can go for peace. And here's the thing. A lot of them are going for that inner peace and those beliefs in those deities, and you can feel it within the walls of the building. Some of my favorite places to be, by the way, is to walk into it. The older the church, the better. And feel the love, to feel the belief, to feel the intention of a lot of people who go into these places. And I've been in some of the oldest churches in the world, which is a blessing in and of itself to have those experiences. As a matter of fact, I think I've been in the oldest church in the world. But that was according to human history, and sometimes that can be altered or doctored or whatever. but always having a semblance of respect for the belief structures that was the original tenets. Like I won't, if the original tenets of a place, for example, is that a woman's head should be covered, then I cover my head. I'm not disrespecting myself to respect someone else's culture and their beliefs, especially if I'm going in the house of worship of their deity. I will always respect that. And as an aside, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, these different levels I'm telling you about, because humans perceive them, they be. Now you can take that as fact or not. We already discussed this. So even when I was at the layers of understanding the Orisha and the Loa, for example, having those energies as teachers, I understood that people can take those energies and manipulate them no different than those who did with different Abrahamic religions in certain ways. So instead of being mad at the whole paradigm or upset with it, I understood. And while in each facet, I still gave back that reciprocity. So an offering, I'm going to give offering to whoever's my teacher at that time in the way that they want it, because I like the same respect. But now I'm on the side of understanding a lot of that stuff. Unless we're having a conversation, I'm being taught something by something specific, I'm not offering nothing other than my respect. And then when I'm being taught something, I give out of respect for that energy, because I learned something because it either did exist or does exist, just as from my heart. And this is how you can see tithing and offering to any belief structure as a level of respect, okay? Not out of something you should fear, or if you give me, I give you. I guess you can do it on a basic level like that. You could. And a lot of folk out there doing that. And that's fine. But I'm letting you know right now, with this conversation, there's power within you. Power within you to have all you would like in this life and all you would like in this world. And then there's things and structures that are predestined, that lived and was created before you, that no more than your bare fist can go through concrete and wrought iron can you go through these energies without learning what you need to learn to traverse to the next step of your life. And this is your karmic path. This is the thing I was talking to you about last video, where there are things, even if as an astrologer or a reader, that can be told to you. And you can know all the ins and outs of it, honey. And you're still going to live out that energy regardless of what was told to you. Okay? Because some things are written already. Now again, I definitely need to name this video subjective. Even though some of the things I'm saying today I perceive to be facts, I still would like y'all to think for yourselves and figure some of this stuff out for yourselves. But across the board, anything in your life past, you can definitely get over it and get past it and live on and have a good life with it, in spite of it. There's some things, and this is what they call those contracts. Those contracts they be talking about in a lot of the spiritual community, those contracts. The spiritual contract with yourself. What do you want to learn at school? It's no different than when you go to high school or you go to college and they give you a schedule and they say, first period you taking English, second period you taking science, third period you have PE. Or in college, first class you have in the morning time is calculus, second class you have is biology. It's already written. There are things that can be restructured and changed, yes. But if you're having a specific degree or learning a specific thing in this life to master, either you're going to take it that first year or you're going to take it the fourth year, but you still got to take it. Understand, for you, there's no amount that you can pay a church, a deity, offer, or sacrifice that's not going to give you exactly the same lessons. So it might push it off a little bit, but you're still going to receive them. And in that, the part that you have control of is how long it takes you to learn and how many times you got to repeat the class. That part's up to you. Completely another thing. But if you can look at it from a perspective of growth, learning, and development, and choices you made, whether you realize it or not, then hey, we can look at it as a voluntary, I am choosing to learn these things, and then when we're uncomfortable, because we've made that choice in thinking, we can easily go right back to, what is this teaching me? Whatever discomfort we are having. What is this teaching me? What lesson am I learning now? You can be stubborn about it and obstinate about it and lash out at yourself and other people every single time you're uncomfortable. I've done that a few times in my life. I don't feel like doing it no more, so I'm not going. But this still applies. It's just that I apply it differently. And mostly to those who are yet to understand what I know. I'll stand in front of you or beside you until you understand. While those who absolutely understand and try to take advantage of you will see my face or experience my energy until you understand. That's what I choose to do. I don't know about nobody else. Anyway, hopefully I didn't confuse y'all with this one. I don't know if I'm going to do another one. I think I am, but I'm not sure. Y'all loved.